You know, some stories are just so incredible, they sound like they're straight out of a movie. But this one's real. It's a story about a man who became his own enemy just to destroy them from the inside. A soldier who walked right into the heart of a terrorist network, living a double life where just one wrong move, one slip up, meant certain death. This is the unbelievable true story of Major Mohit Sharma, the Immortal Commando. Okay, so let's set the scene. Picture this. It's March 2004. You're in a remote wooden house deep in the snow-covered hills of Shopian, Kashmir. Inside, the air is thick with tension. Three men are sipping on kahwa, that traditional Kashmiri tea. But trust me, this is anything but a friendly get-together. It's a meeting happening on the absolute edge of a knife. One of these men, the one on guard, is named Iftikhar Bhatt, and he looks the part. Long hair, a beard, an AK-47 slung over his shoulder. He's with two other guys, Abu Tarara and Abu Sabzar, and these two are some of the most wanted Hizbul Mujahideen commanders in all of South Kashmir. They're both watching Iftikhar, and you can just see the suspicion in their eyes. So you're probably wondering, how did this guy even get in the room? Well, Iftikhar came to them with a story that was, frankly, perfect. He told them his brother had been killed by the Indian army, and that he was just burning for revenge. And to prove he was the real deal, he handed them this incredibly detailed plan to ambush an army convoy. We're talking checkpost locations, guard numbers, escape routes, the whole shebang. It was flawless. And for 2 weeks, it was enough to earn their trust. Almost. Because just as they're about to give the green light for the mission, doubt starts to creep back in. They're watching Iftikhar, and something about him just isn't right. He's way too calm, too composed for someone about to walk into a firefight. And Abu Tarara, he starts getting this really bad feeling in his gut. And finally, the tension just snaps. Abu Tarara looks Iftikhar dead in the eye, raises his AK-47, points it right at him and asks the one question that's been eating away at him. Who are you, really? The room goes dead silent. One wrong answer, one wrong move, and it's all over. And in that split second, everything changes. Before either commander can even blink, Iftikhar whips out a 9mm pistol he had hidden under his clothes. 2 shots ring out, echoing through that tiny house. One for Abu Tarara, one for Abu Sabzar. Just like that, in a matter of seconds, 2 of the most wanted terrorists in the region are dead. Because here's the kicker. The man they knew as Iftikhar Bhatt, he was never a terrorist. He was Major Mohit Sharma, an elite commando from the Indian Army's legendary 1-Para Special Forces. And he was in the middle of one of the most daring, most dangerous undercover operations you could possibly imagine. But to really understand how a man could pull off something so audacious, we've got to go back. We need to see who the real Mohit Sharma was. What was it that drove him to walk a path this dangerous? Well, it all started with a dream that just refused to die. You see, Mohit came from a pretty typical middle-class family, and they had a path all laid out for him. Go to engineering college, get a good job, settle down, and live a safe, secure life. But Mohit, he had a completely different idea. Whenever anyone asked him where he wanted to be posted in the army, his answer was always the same: where the real fight is. His journey to even join the army was a battle in itself. His family was so set on him becoming an engineer that while he was in college, he was secretly studying for the National Defense Academy. And get this, when his selection letter actually arrived, his parents hid it from him. But Mohit wasn't deterred. He confronted them and basically said it's the army or it's nothing. He then had to gain 8 kilos in a single month just to pass the medicals, a challenge he tackled with his mom's help. The man's determination was just unbreakable. So, he made it into the army. But for a guy like Mohit, that was never going to be the end goal. He was aiming for the best of the best. And his journey to become an elite Special Forces commando was every bit as tough as his fight just to get in. I mean, this guy was the whole package. During his training, he excelled at everything: boxing, swimming, horse riding. But here's the wild part. He was also a super talented musician. He could play the guitar, the mouth organ, the synthesizer. Think about that for a second. A hardened warrior who was also an artist. He graduated from the Indian Military Academy right in the middle of the Kargil War, surrounded by all these stories of heroism that just fueled his ambition even more. After a posting in Kashmir where he got to see the Para Special Forces commandos in action,
He knew that's where he had to be. So, in June 2003, he went for it. He passed the ridiculously grueling selection process and finally earned that coveted Maroon Beret. He had made it to his dream unit.
And it was all of this intense training, this unbreakable will, that made him the absolute perfect candidate for the Iftikhar bot mission. Things in Kashmir were getting worse, and the army needed someone who could go deep, and I mean deep, behind enemy lines. His transformation was just total. This wasn't just an act. He had to literally become Iftikhar bot. He grew out his hair and his beard, he mastered the local languages and customs, he even memorized verses from the Quran. For 2 whole months, he just lived in local villages, telling anyone who would listen his fake story of loss and his burning hatred for the army. He was slowly, painstakingly, building the cover he needed to get inside. And the result of all that work? A spectacular success. Not only did he take out 2 top commanders, but the intelligence he gathered on his way out completely crippled the Hizbut Mujahideen's network in that whole region. For this absolutely incredible act of bravery, he was awarded the Sena Medal for gallantry. But Major Sharma's story of heroism doesn't end there. Nope. A few years later, on March 21st, 2009, he would face his final and most defining battle. The call came in, and it was urgent. A group of heavily armed terrorists had just crossed the line of control, and they were holed up in the dense Hafruta forest. Major Sharma and his team were sent in immediately to hunt them down. As they were tracking the infiltrators, they walked right into a deadly ambush. They were pinned down, taking fire from 3 different directions. And what was Major Sharma's first thought? Not to save himself. It was to save his men. He stayed right out in the open, laying down cover fire so his team could get to better positions. He took a bullet to the hand, but just wrapped it up and kept on fighting. He even charged forward to rescue a wounded teammate. And this part, this is just incredible. Even though he was injured, Major Sharma single-handedly charged the enemy positions. He neutralized 4. That's right, 4 heavily armed terrorists all by himself, saving his entire team from being completely overrun. As he was still providing cover, one of his men yelled at him to get down, to take cover himself. And his response? His last words, they tell you everything you need to know about who this man was. He just said, "You go first. I will come later." Moments after that, as he kept firing, a bullet struck him in the chest, and he made the supreme sacrifice for his country. Major Sharma was gone, but his actions that day and throughout his life ensured his name would never be forgotten. He became immortal. His legacy is a shining example of what it means to be a soldier. For his extraordinary bravery in Kupwara, for his entire life of service, Major Mohit Sharma was posthumously awarded the Ashoka Chakra, which is India's highest peacetime award for valor. Today, his memory lives on. There's a metro station named after him, a statue in his hometown, all to make sure that we never ever forget the man who lived and died for his country. You know, a story like Major Sharma's is a powerful reminder of the hidden battles that are fought every day and the ultimate sacrifices that are made to keep us safe. It really forces you to stop and ask, how do we properly honor that kind of courage? And how do we make sure that the legacy of heroes like him is never, ever